Hi, and welcome to Little Bite number 2. Let me ask you a question. If you wanted to get fit, what would be the obvious thing that you needed to do? If you wanted to lose weight, what would be the obvious thing that you might want to do? If you want to get good at dancing, which is one of the things I do, Argentine tango, and boy do I have to do a lot of that. If you want to get good at, I don't know, oil painting, something, okay? What does it need to do? Well, the obvious answer is, if you want to get fit, you've got to exercise. And if you want to lose weight, you're probably going to restrict calories or do some kind of diet thing. If you want to learn dancing, and I have spent hundreds and hundreds of hours of learning Argentine tango, and I'm still going to classes, right? You've got to practice. Now, anxiety and depression are no different. You have to practice having a different experience. Now, I know I say this a lot, and it sounds a bit odd, and well, it just sort of makes sense. If you've been anxious for a long time, in principle, you're practicing being anxious. Now, I know you don't think that you're practicing, but you're allowing anxiety to exist by not challenging it, let's say. But in principle, anxiety is in your life for a considerable number of hours. I'm going to say hundreds, if not thousands of hours, and that constitutes practice. If you're depressed, you're allowing negative beliefs about yourself, world, future. You're allowing negative experiences to exist, and you're not always challenging, if at all, actually, because one of the characteristics of all of these problems is that you believe what the negative thoughts, what the negative beliefs tell you. So in principle, if you're depressed, you've been practicing for tens, hundreds, or thousands of hours. And there is a reason why people seek out therapy. You need to get onto a program of change, a program of life change. And depression and anxiety they come in and out, right? You could be depressed for, let's say, 18 months, and you might not be depressed for a couple of years, and then you're depressed again for 3 or 4 years. But I often meet people who say, I've been anxious all of my life, I've been depressed, up and down all of my life. Depression is a process, anxiety is a process, and sometimes because of external reality it's a little bit less, and sometimes because of external reality it's a little bit more, but it's always going to be flowing around in the background. And it's a maladaptive, unhelpful, wrong, negative, horrible process. Excuse me, but you have to change the process, and that's what therapy does. So typically, when I did an early research project with my program Blues Be Gone, I compared it to 12 sessions of cognitive therapy with the Oxford Cognitive Therapy Service, which is a sort of a specialist CBT service, okay? And my program was as good as, in terms of clinical outcomes with respect to the questionnaires that we use, the Beck Depression Inventory, Beck Anxiety Inventory, my program gave as good an outcome as 12 sessions of CBT with the Oxford service. And I know that because they published their data and I published my data. And you can find the publication in the Journal of Behavioural and Cognitive Psychotherapy, I think. And actually, I could even put it online if you wanted. Okay, so 12 sessions of CBT was equivalent, more or less, to working through the Blues Be Gone program. And the Blues Be Gone program was more or less, I'm going to say, like 12 to 16 hours of stuff, okay? And that's why I made Panic Pit Stop about, it's 6 sessions, but it's going to give you like 20 odd hours, right? So I made it a big hit. So, sorry, I'm digressing. Here's the point. You need to be on some form of program. My Panic Pit Stop program bundle is not the only one. You can be in therapy. That's going to work for you. If you have anxiety and depression, being in therapy is more than likely going to work, okay? If you don't want to be in therapy, then you have to do something else. But the point is you have to do something. And if you don't do something, it's hard to see why change would happen. You can tinker around the edges, but it's hard to see why change would happen. There are other courses. Mine's not the only one, okay? I think mine's the best. But, that's me. I think mine's the best because it's the biggest, in my opinion, it's the biggest, most comprehensive system in the world. I do not know of a program, the Panic Pit Stop, the mindfulness journey and mood control. I don't know of a bigger set of stuff that's going to help you change your experience from depression and anxiety, right? That's just what that is. and it's relatively inexpensive. But you don't have to use mine, you can use something else. But unless you get on a program, how can change happen? A lot of the problems that you struggle with are unconscious, in the sense that they're automatic, behind the scenes processes, right? Why would they change? There's absolutely no reason for them to change, because there's not a change force making them change. And that's what therapy does. It forces these programs, these background processes to change. And that's what my Panic Pit Stop program bundle does. By going through the videos and by going through the modules, you go, oh yeah, that's what's happening, and it forces change on those processes. So if you want to make change, you have to get on a program of change. Otherwise, more or less, nothing will change. This has been a bit more of a little bite, it's been more of a big chunk. All right, thanks for taking the time to watch and listen.